and I think I got kind of tired of faking it at some point. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. I don't care what anyone thinks. And I started following my journey on Instagram at first, just because I thought you could just Google it. I thought this journey was gonna be very simple. I thought I'd go onto Facebook because there's no privacy, and I'd just be like, everybody that's born on this, where are you?
Where are you? Feed into
DM
the
you,
system.
are you single, are you straight, are you, no. It doesn't work like that.
But what I like about your story too is, and it comes out in the book, it sort of feels like what you got out of this journey was kind of half magic.
So weird, because sometimes life's like that, and sometimes you fall out of it. Like, I'm not always in flow or in magic or feeling that universe.
Hey peeps, welcome back to the Flexible Neurotic podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah Milken, and this is the Flexible Neurotic. Today, I have a very cool guest. You know, like those people you just want to like have lunch with and shoot the shit? This is that person. I met her at a party a few weeks ago and we were like, oh my God, can we be best friends? I have so many best friends from this podcast. She is a best-selling author, and we're gonna talk about today is the actual book launch day for her paperback book. It's called All Signs Point to Paris. She's also part of the agency here in Beverly Hills. I'm sure you've seen her drinking champagne on Buying Beverly Hills. We have so much to talk about. We're going to talk about her book, how her psychic reading took her to Paris to find her soulmate, and so many things that midlife women kind of come across along the journey of midlife. I want you to meet Natasha Sizlo.
Hi.
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 How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
You're really good. Well,
I'm
we
so
both
good.
we got bathroom runs in.
Yep.
We did our flyaways. We got our water, midlife prepped, our deodorant. I couldn't even find my regular deodorant though. I had to use the organic one, so I'm sure I will be more wet than usual. So we're just gonna take a deep breath because I think we're both like a little huffing and puffing from the escalator. I want everyone to hear your fantastic story because it's sort of like 50 Shades of Natasha. And I fucking loved your book. I didn't even put it down, and I know everyone says that. They're like, one sitting, one read. I was like crying, I was laughing. My husband's like, what's wrong with you? So many things. But I think that although not everyone can relate to finding a soulmate in Paris or going on that journey, I think so many of us can relate to all the components of the midlife journey that you talk about: love, loss, grief, joy, finding joy again, divorce, modern families, all of it. So I want you to start by telling us what year it was and what was going on in your life before you became best-selling author. And I do want to mention that you were a magazine writer in your previous life. So you do have a writing background.
I do. Yes, I was a magazine, and thank you for having me.
Oh my God.
And I just love you and love being here. So yeah, I was a writer in my 20s, and I gave it up after I was a magazine writer and editor. My magazine folded, life was hard. I wanted to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife. And so that was a career that I had many, many years ago. In 2018, I was not having the best year of my life. I was 44. I had just weathered a really disastrous divorce. I know a lot of them are. Mine was the kind where I short sold my house. I mean, everything blew up with my ex and I, and my dog died. I was living in a shoebox apartment. My company dissolved. I had like a little fashion brand that I was like trying so hard to keep going, filed bankruptcy, like all of it, like boom, boom, boom. The hits kept coming. I thought I had found like my second chance at love, and I was kind of madly in love with this post-divorce romance that also just blew up, this French man.
Philippe, lives in Venice. I mean, it is like pretty hot and fabulous.
Yeah, it was pretty hot and fabulous until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And my heart was kind of broken by that because I thought, I was just beaten down by all the knocks in life. And then I found out my father, who was my rock, had a terminal illness, and it was just the hits kept coming. And
you have 2 kids.
And I have 2 kids. Yeah. And
How
so
old were your
it's kind of
kids
single
then?
parenting. Gosh, well, that was, they were middle schoolers.
Yeah.
And I was just
You have
trying
a girl and a boy.
and I had
We
to
know what
launch my
having
new
a girl
career.
is like.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's a lot.
The girls.
The girls.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Love them.
Love them. Smart, badass. Let's go.
Expensive. Yeah.
Expensive.
Yes.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's a lot,
$17 matcha. It's cool.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I was having a really, really tough year and a tough day. And my best friend, who is one of those woo-woo out there kind of people, but I love her to my core.
You gotta have one.
Yeah, but she would always be doing these things that I thought were so, psychics and astrologers and like, I don't even know what you're talking about, your chakras and your Akashic and your crystals and your Reiki. And I was like, oh, Nicole, not another one of your things. And she just wanted to gift me an astrology reading for my birthday to try to like lift my spirits. And normally I would have said no. But I had decided like, I got to start saying yes. And so I said yes to this astrology reading and it completely changed my life. Like completely changed my life.
I can't wait for everyone to hear this. It's amazing. So you see the astrologer.
Yeah, yeah. And the first thing I said to her was, I don't really believe in astrology. And she said, that's okay, you don't have to. And I thought, what kind of trick is this? Like that you're not making me try to believe in you. And she went through and just kind of broke down my chart and everything became very, I don't know, things that I never thought would resonate or sound like true to my life story did. And she just knew things that defied explanation. And I came from this background of like, my father was Mr. Science and logic and MIT and facts and everything. And all of a sudden I'm talking to this woman who seems to know me better than, and she knew things about my life, like when I was 5 and I almost drowned, when, that I used to be a writer, which I didn't talk about to anybody because I gave it up. And so by the end of the reading, I went from a full-on cynic to a full-on believer in 45 minutes. And by the end of the reading, she said to me, do you have any more questions? And I said, well, can you just look up this like guy that I just can't get over, but I know he's not the one, but I just had a hard time. My heart just wouldn't let go of him. Philippe, French guy.
You just wanted that closure.
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted, but wanting closure, what a silly thing to want for.
I mean.
I just wanted to make sense of it. And so she looked up, she said, what's his birthday? Well, first I gave her the wrong birthday because I'm really bad with birthdays. So if I ever miss your birthday, I'm sorry.
I say to my husband, I'm like, is it your birthday today? I'm the worst birthday person ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So finally, when I got it right, I learned that he was in line with my point of destiny, which I have now learned is something different than I thought at that time. And then my sister called me and said, Dad's dying. He wants to take a family meeting. And my father was trying to decide what he wanted to do in the last 2 weeks of his life. And so I just had this like real like breakdown, ugly crying in the shower, all that kind of stereotypical thing. And then I had this light bulb of a moment where it was like, wait a minute, he's not the only guy who was born on November 2nd, 1968 in Paris. So I texted my best friend. I'm like, I just have to find every other one, every other man.
Go back in the story for a second. So you're with the psychic, and did she say to you November 2nd, 1968?
No, I said to her, can you look up his birth chart? Like, why? Was he the one?
Okay.
And she said, he's in line with your point of destiny. So she didn't say, I feel bad now because she's like, well, I didn't know you were going to do this adventure. Everyone's like, but she was wrong. I'm like, no, this is on me.
Yeah.
She didn't send me off on this thing. It was on me. She said he was in line with my point of destiny. And I believe he very much was, because I think my point of destiny was to find my roots.
So what is point of destiny then?
The point of destiny is where your higher self takes you on. It's not destiny in something that's like a given, it's earned. So it's where your highest and best self kind of supports your humanness.
So is it like a destination, or it's something that you need to do?
Okay. That's as I understand it, and I cannot tell you anything about astrology because I'm not an astrologer, and I've learned a lot about it, but I certainly don't know anything really. It's like an earned destination, if that makes any sense.
So in your mind, you felt like Philippe was within reason of point of destiny, but not the right person. So you wanted to find every other French man who was born on November 2nd, 1968?
Yeah.
duh.
Duh. Fuck you, universe. I got you. I was like,
I figure this shit out.
yeah.
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute. You can't tell me that. There's another story to be told here.
Oh my God.
First
And
it
then
was
your
like,
dad's dying, your dog died, and you're like, oh, and by the way, I'm planning this point of destiny trip
well,
to
at
Paris.
first it was like this kind of absurd thing, and my best friend was like, yeah, we're gonna go to fucking Paris. And
Girls
then
trip.
yeah. And I was like, okay, great. And then I had to go see my dad, who was not, I mean, he was suffering from this disease called pulmonary fibrosis, which is not an easy way to go. And he was trying to decide whether he was going to do something called aid in dying, or some people call it assisted suicide, or, you know.
So he was totally lucid.
Oh, my dad.
Which is such a gift for you because you could actually communicate with him at the end.
Yes, yes. He was so sharp and so smart and so logical and so aware and so present. And we took this family meeting and he was like, I don't know how I want to go. I think I might want to listen to this song while I was going. My sister and I are like, well, what's the song? And he's like, it's Bette Midler. And I was like, but Dad never listened to Bette Midler. Like, what's happening? And so we're in this like family meeting, and my mom can't handle it because my parents were married 56 years, and he really was this rock. And he starts crying because he's having to say goodbye to my mother, who he promised he would never leave. Like, she was just came from Scotland.
Like, she
and
would
he
die
just,
first or whatever.
yeah. And so he's crying, and there's like, you know, oxygen and like morphine, and it's like really, really scary. And my sister turns to me, she's like, well, first we told him, like, you've been the best father ever, you know, best husband, best friend, best mentor, best everything. Promise we'll take care of Mom forever. You're gonna be okay. And then my sister's like, do or say something to lighten the mood. It was just so heavy.
Like, no pressure.
And so I was like, Dad, I met an astrologer. And my father was like, you just saw his eyes. He was just looking at me with these big blue eyes. And I said, I think I'm going to go to Paris to track down my soulmate. And I told him this whole story. And I was like, did you know astrologers have assistants and this and that? And I'm telling this whole world. And he's silent. He's Mr. MIT. He didn't want a priest, nothing, no spirituality, no funeral. My father was like not into anything except for like just what you could see.
Facts.
So I thought. And we go through this whole thing, and I told him the whole thing. I'm going to go to Paris. I'm going to meet every other man because Philippe can't be the one, right? And My sister's like, I'm not sure if that's what I meant when I said lighten the mood. Like, we're all kind of worried.
Like,
how's Bob going to take this? Bob's
Natasha.
going to have a heart attack. He's going to die thinking I'm like totally lost my mind. And he was really quiet. And then he said, sounds like you're going to Paris. I'll meet you there.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
And that was really the last conversation I had with him. And then we had like a dance off, and we started, you know, celebrated. And it was like, we started talking about all the crazy things that we've done for love in our lifetime. And he was telling me about crazy things he did when he was meeting my mom, and my sister talked about it. My sister said, you know, so we made this pact to go to Paris, all three of us, after he died. And I didn't think it was going to be this thing, you know. I was just saying it in the moment because it was beautiful. And I didn't even realize it was going to be the last conversation I had with my dad. And then he died, and I collapsed. It was awful. Like, I'm so lucky that I haven't ever been through that experience and had to grieve like that. But it really floored me, and it really floored my sister. I mean, in a way that I didn't know was possible, and I couldn't get up. And then finally, I don't know, I just like heard kind of a voice. It was like, you got to get up, you got to take care of those two kids. And so I told my sister, I'm going to do this. She's like, I'm sorry, do what? I'm like, I'm going to track down every person I can find, born in Paris on November 2nd, 1968. We're going to go to Paris. My best friend was like, well, I'm in. I didn't tell anybody at first.
A psychotic break, apparently.
I was having a break.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it a breakdown? Is it a breakthrough? I just didn't care. And
let's also remind everyone, like, you don't have a lot of money. You don't have any money.
Oh, no. I was like struggling. And I'm doing real estate on the side.
So like
I don't want anyone to know.
Like a plane ticket to Paris and a hotel and whatever, like, that's not part of your budget.
No.
And you're, like you said, you're a real estate agent selling houses that are $1 bazillion, and you're living in this little tiny apartment, kind of faking it to make it.
Oh, yeah.
And Whoa.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot of hats, a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I think I got kind of tired of faking it at some point. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. And I don't care what anyone thinks. And I started Instagram, following my journey on Instagram at first, just because, listen, I thought you could just Google it. I thought this journey was going to be very simple. I thought I'd go onto Facebook because there's no privacy. And I'd just be like, everybody that's born on this, where are you?
Where are you? Feed into
DM
the
you.
system.
Are you single? Are you straight? Are you, no. It doesn't work like that. So I was like, well, how else would I do it?
Birth registry
I tried.
or something.
Yeah. I was like,
put your logical
I was Google translating
like,
French.
I'm gonna nail this.
Yeah, I was like going to the different maraes and then like, where's the civil this, that? And then I was like, that didn't work. Okay, maybe Instagram, targeted advertising. So I started doing like, I would like send like
But did you start an Instagram account just for this?
Yes. So I started,
so I
had then it was 02 November 1968. I've changed it to just my name.
Yeah.
But
how did you like get followers? Like how did people?
Okay, so you know this daughter thing we're talking about?
Yes.
Oh my God, it was so embarrassing. So at first I was just like, my girlfriends and my best friends were like, oh my God, Natasha, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. I got this.
Yeah.
Like I've totally figured out the world, and everyone's like, is she okay? Like she's like losing it a little bit, but my friends are so nice. We're like, yeah, we support you. And so first it was just kind of fun, right? But I didn't realize like when you create an Instagram, if it's still from the same email that you have, then it's gonna, so all of a sudden, everybody that I know is getting suggested to follow this.
Oh, interesting.
Eventually, including Philippe, Mr. 02 November 1968. That was a journey.
Somebody from Venice found out about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, she's really cracked.
Yeah. He was a little concerned about that one. And then it became like this whole thing. At first I was like so embarrassed. Like Mauricio Umansky, Billy Rose, all these agency people, they're gonna be like, you gotta leave the agency. Like this is too much. But actually, and this is what I love about the agency, they were like, oh, okay, you're doing something weird and out there and you're risk taking. Go to Paris, like go, find
That's
this.
So
and they
cool.
became this like thing behind me. And then all of a sudden there'd be like, I don't know, like random people, like Busy Phillips all of a sudden is following me. I'm like, well, that's sweet and weird and fun. And then like girl in Paris is like, can I put up posters for you?
So you were like Emily in Paris. You were like midlifer in Paris.
It was a little less cultivated or a little messier.
Messy in
A
Paris.
little messier, yeah. But that's kind of what it became. And so I just kind of, I didn't care. And I was like, I made T-shirts and business cards and posters and I went on the radio.
So your daughter helped you kind of.
Oh, no. Margot.
She just told you about the Instagram.
My daughter, no. She was like, wait, what did you do? She's like, is this your crazy thing? Did you not know that people would find out? She's like, do not tag me in anything. Do not mention me in anything. Do not.
Well, my daughter's like, okay, midlife vagina talk, really?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what's worse. My mom's looking for some hottie soulmate in Paris, or my mom's talking about her midlife vagina. It's like, it's kind of a toss-up, actually. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm sure they could sit down and have some pretty fun conversations together.
Gosh.
Yeah. So she was, totally, absolutely horrified that I was doing this.
Did your ex-husband think you were crazy?
You know what? That's, my ex-husband, I was so afraid to tell him. His first response was, I went over to the house and he's remarried and he has this beautiful wife who's an actress, Anna Faris. And Anna is really, we have a great...
Yeah, you guys are close now.
We have a great relationship. Yeah, listen, we have divorce is not easy. Blending families is not easy. I'm not saying anything is perfect, but it's beautiful and it's fun and it's quirky and it's weird. And so I go over and I'm like, I gotta just let you guys know I'm doing this because it'd be weird if I didn't tell you because now it was a whole thing.
Getting public.
It's getting a little public and Michael's like, wait, you have an astrologer? Like he couldn't wrap his head around because I was so not that person.
Yeah.
I was such a cynic and a non-believer. And Anna was like, yeah, let's go.
She's like, can I just buy you a Porsche and just, can you skip this?
She was great. So, I mean, she ended up being like this huge supporter of this whole thing. So then I go to Paris. I pack my bags. Thank God I went when I went. And because then the pandemic was right after it. And so I went and I found 16 people, 15 men and one woman who was the daughter of a man that was born on November 2nd, 1968. And I went there with my 2 best friends and my sister and my father.
Yes.
And it became this like...
And you stayed in this teeny tiny little place
Yeah.
that didn't have a closet, and you were like, wait, I brought all these fucking clothes, and where are we supposed to put them?
ridiculous.
And you're like, your fantasy in your mind was not what was happening there.
No.
Yeah.
The fantasy, the like, okay, this is going to be like a rom-com, and I'm going to meet, like, fall in love, and I'm going to be dressed...
Julia Roberts.
No, it was like...
Richard Gere's going to pull up in the limo, and he's going to be born on November 2nd,
There you go.
1968.
Yes.
Oh.
No. I mean, it was like sexy and fun and wild and wacky and beautiful and not, as life is, not what you plan it to be. And
so you set up these series of dates with these men in Paris.
Yes.
Some of them didn't show up.
Yes.
And you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Have I made this huge mistake? My fantasy's falling apart here. Give us an example of like a sample day.
God, a sample day. I don't think there was really a sample day, but it was
like an
somewhere...
interesting day or like a fucked up day, anything.
I mean, okay, there was this one beautiful, actually the most beautiful moment of this entire trip. Was I had been stood up or missed whatever, dates didn't go the right way or whatever, and I was like, fucking hell, sorry.
No, we're fuck.
Yes.
Let's go.
That's exactly what I felt like. I was like, come on. And so there, I don't use Facebook much here, but there was like a Facebook group for, I think it was called like Women in Paris or something like that, and I was like, maybe I just like, and I posted in this Facebook women's group in the middle of the night, I can't remember. I was like, if the men can't show up, maybe the women can. I invited the women of Paris. I was like, lost my mind to meet me at like this bar and da-da-da. My sister's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I was like, I don't know. And we show up and nobody shows up. We sit there for an hour and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I've lost my mind. And then like one by one, this room filled with these women from ages 19 to mid 60s maybe. And it was so beautiful. And we just stayed like drinking champagne and cocktails and eating delicious food. One of them busts out a cello and she's like, where are we? Because we're in Paris.
Yeah,
and,
of course I have a cello.
I was like, what did you,
Duh.
like, and all talking about the things we've done for love, if we should try again, what if it works? Risking, saying out loud what you want in life to the universe and waiting for the answers and being able to pivot when the answers come and they're not what you want them to be and how do you or maybe they are what you need them to be. And it was truly, even my sister was like, oh, I get it now. Because she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's like that safe, cautious, like she was wearing fanny packs and orthotics and I was wearing like 4-inch heels. Like she was like trying to bring mace in her bag and I was like, come on. I'm going to fall in love. She's like, you're going to die. Yeah. And she was like, oh, I get it. I don't know what it was to get, but there was some kind of magic in this whole thing. There just was.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because sometimes life's like that. And sometimes you fall out of it. Like I'm not always in flow or in magic or feeling that universe that or the, sometimes.
But what I like about your story too is, and it comes out in the book, is it sort of feels like what you got out of this journey was kind of half magic and like half manifestation.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you put in the work. You didn't just lay down in your apartment and go, oh my God, can a man born on November 2nd come to me?
Right.
You put yourself out there. You created that energy flow, whether it was going to be right or wrong, or it was going to go in 40 different ways. Like you created the energy flow and created the action steps and the manifestation energy. So it was like two things at work to create the life that you were looking for, that you wanted. And you were taking self-responsibility. And that's so much of what I talk about in this podcast is, I was like a 45-year-old woman. I was bored. I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? My kids are older. I have to do something. And it's like I can sit around and scroll Instagram and like wait for an answer to hit me in the forehead. Or I can be like, okay, what do I like to do? I like to listen to podcasts. I like to research. I like to talk. Oh, let's start a podcast. I'll just try it. But if I just sat around and waited for it, nothing would have happened. And I'm so happy I did, but had I not taken that step, none of this would have even happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's going to end up exactly how you envision it, but the more sort of places you put yourself in, the more opportunities there are to create that.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what you did. It's sort of like you stirred the pot.
I think it was because there was a certain time in my life when I was like, oh, what if I fail?
And you weren't like, oh my God, I have 2 kids and I can't do this. You were like, okay, my kids are accounted for with my ex-husband. I have this time to go to Paris. It's like, nothing's perfect.
Yes.
You weren't staying at the Four Seasons in Paris.
No.
It's like you found an, Airbnb,
it was messy,
whatever. Yeah.
And it was clunky and awkward, and I did fail in many ways. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what it's supposed to be.
People didn't show up.
And
it wasn't like Romeo was standing at every date at a 5-star restaurant every night. You're like, can this dude show up at this nasty coffee shop?
It was not like a Netflix movie, and yet in many ways, it was like the most best and beautiful journey it could have been because it failed and because it was so hard and because I was so fearless at that time in my life. I think I'd lost so much that I was like,
fuck it.
What else am I going to lose? What else could I lose? And of course I could lose a lot, but I, for some reason, was in a spot where I just felt like fearless. And
I like the idea of, because I always talk about with midlife, there are days you wake up and you're like, I have so much energy, like I can take on the world. And then there's other days where you're like, can I just like eat a brownie and like stay in my pajamas all day?
Yeah.
So I always try to say like the days you do feel like you have this like pep in your step are the days that you got to like send those emails, go to that lunch you didn't want to go to.
Yeah.
Like, because we don't, not every day feels amazing.
No, I'm an introvert. Like, and
Me too.
I'm scared of public speaking. I'm scared of like, and look what I did.
Look what you're doing.
But I put myself out in such a public place. And then I came back and I didn't plan this like book thing and this public part. I just did this thing and I came back. I spread my father's ashes. I kind of closed a chapter of my year and I was like, okay. And then a literary agent reached out to me out of the blue. And she's like, I think you have a book in you.
And you're like, what?
Oh, I was like, no. I was like, that sounds like a lot of work. And I mean, I could barely write an Instagram post.
Buy it.
Yeah, I didn't have like a whole lot of faith in my ability to, I mean, that was my dream when I was in my 20s. I studied, writing when I was younger and I was writing since I was 15 years old, but then I gave it up because I felt like such a failure. But then COVID hit and I was like, well, what else am I going to do? Somebody's asked me if I'll do this and I'm so ADD, like I needed to move and the beach was closed and the hiking trails were closed and only my computer was sitting there and I was like, okay, I can move here, And I tried it.
Bradshaw.
I tried it and it worked. Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. It didn't work perfectly. I mean, but it is, I do have those days. Like today's a brownie in pajamas kind of day. It just is. And I'm like, but I'm still here and I'm still like, but life's like that.
But you get to hang out with me.
I know.
That's the best part.
Yeah, it is.
I also felt and read in your book that being the independent woman that you are and kind of always, kind of doing what you want to do, you didn't feel like you had this tremendous need for like a million friends. Like you had your 4 best friends or whatever. And what I read is that you sort of felt like you found this newfound community that you didn't even know you needed.
Yes.
And I love that because I feel like it is such an essential part of midlife that we find a community. It doesn't have to be a million people, even if it's like a pickleball group or a mahjong group or whatever. Yeah. Find some kind of auxiliary community that we connect with. Because sometimes your old friends are amazing and sometimes you need that like new energy to be like, hey, Natasha,
Yeah.
Sarah, do this.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not crazy that you're in a bar in Paris in a Facebook group. Like, that's like new fun energy, supportive energy. Tell us about like how that felt for you for the first time, like being like, hey, I put myself out there and I've created this community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like been incredible. And there was so many, there was the community I created while I was on this search. And then there's the community that found. I didn't create, I found. And the community that I found through bringing a book to life and like through the book world and readers. And I was the kind of person growing up that's like, I don't need anyone, I got this. I can still be that way. You know, I don't need help, I got this, I can do it on my own. And I didn't realize asking for help, and I had to after my dad died, because I was like, I can't make Christmas happen this year because I'm so sad and so in grief. And I've got these 2 little kids, and I started accepting like the love around me from people at the agency, people in my friend network, people in my like extended family, and then on this journey. And once I opened up to it, community is everything. I mean, friendships are huge to me, you know, huge. And I didn't know that. I mean, even now, my mom is 87 years old, and I'm, you know, just moved her into a home. And you're speaking of like mahjong groups or different, and I'm watching her learn how to make new friends at 87, and watching her spirit and how it changes as she like grows these new friendships. And it's, whether it's midlife, any part in life, any part in life. I think especially in these transition years.
Yes.
Yeah. So and obviously this is a huge one for me, transitioning in all of my 40s. I feel like there's been, you know, that I'm 49, I'm gonna be turning 50 in October. And so I'm sure there'll be like a whole nother like that 50s. But yeah, it's like, you know, there's water. Friendship, like these important things are like core parts of my being.
It's like part of the midlife menu of like the things that you can select in order for yourself. But you definitely have to take that self-responsibility, because like I always say, no one's coming to rescue us.
No.
Like no one was gonna come to your little yellow apartment and be like, Natasha, let me fix your life for you. No, it's you doing the work that feels really, really hard.
Yeah. And if you can kind of break it down into smaller like pieces, especially like someone said to me the other day, because my book just came out, right? Again, in the paperback.
Let's look at it. Hold on.
But when I look at it sometimes, I'm like, oh, if I go through it, like every piece of punctuation, like it came through, and I was like, that was a lot of work. But I just broke it down. And I mean, I'm the queen of ADD, like start something, move on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing.
Look how beautiful the hardback is too.
So yeah, I was like, I got to be proud of that, because you know, but if you break everything down, you have to take action in life if you want anything to change. You know, otherwise I'm going to be living the same thing. And I want to grow and change my life, and you know, experience all the things and just grow as a woman, or as a human being.
I love that, and I also, I don't know, I kind of like some of the little quirky things that happen too. Like your friends made you a wish jar.
My wish jar,
yeah. Tell us about your wish jar. I loved how you sort of described that, and you were saying how you realized you realized that the things you were looking for in a partner were also things that you already had within yourself, and you didn't need to be so focused on finding that person with everything.
Well, or that I have in this whole big community, to go back to like all the people in my life, right? So my best friends gifted me, like for my birthday when everything was really low, these flying wish kits, which are fabulous. And
flying wish kit.
Yeah, light it, and like, you know, of course I didn't know to light them, and so I was writing all these wishes and kind of crumpling them up and putting them in this blue mason jar that I had. And the wishes weren't always super like sophisticated. Like it might be like, I had a little too much wine at dinner, and I was like, I just want like the best sex of my life. I just want someone to play Jenga with. I just want someone to like eat pizza in bed. I just want like someone who will love and support my children. But they were all like, so it ran the gamut. Some of them were just kind of angry. Most of them weren't angry.
Yeah.
But you know, it was just like all these random things. And I think it was New Year's Day, after like I came back from Paris, I spread my father's ashes on the ocean, and I realized I had these wish kits all these wishes in this jar. Like, not even those kits. I went through, there was like 100 of them. And I was by the ocean because it was during it was right after some evacuations. So I wasn't going to light anything on fire in LA. And so I went to the ocean and I kind of read them all. I took them out one by one. And I did realize in that moment, I was like, first of all, how dare I project that one person should be all these things? And that's not healthy or good. And it takes away from the things that I can do for myself and give myself and love on myself about. And all the other people in my life, like, somebody my father would love, somebody that, supports my highest and best in my career, somebody, like all of the things. And I have this rich, like, garden of, beautiful humans in my life. And it's not just one tree, it's just like this beautiful forest of stuff. And that's what creates this whole world that we live in. And then it opens you up to loving somebody and not just kind of, for me, it was a game changer, and loving myself, And it kind of led me to be able to write this. I don't know how. I think it was like that one absurd wish, like, I just want someone who will love Lionel Richie as much as I do. I mean, why? Like, why? What's the point of that? But I was like so into, I have this whole Lionel Richie history, but
that's like my husband with his like 90s like R&B. I'm like, like all the music that we listened to in high school, I'm like, we're doing this again. And I sort of oblige, and I'm like, oh sure, I'd love to go see New Edition. And, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
So I do all of that.
Yeah.
But it's not like I love it, but it's important to him. So I like go with the flow,
Yeah.
Roses on Valentine's Day, Bobby Brown, he's like 107 now. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah. There was some kind of absurdity in reading that. And then I was like, you know what? Like, that one's for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the wish I made for me. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I got to love myself a little more. I got to stop. Like, I'm such my own worst critic.
You have all the things that you want in someone else.
Yeah.
Like, I want this guy who's going to cook and he's going to love all these things.
Yeah.
You sort of have to become those things first.
Of course.
Before you can expect to find someone else who, has all of the perfect qualities, which is not always easy, because we all want instant gratification, like vending machine husband. Yep, here he comes. He's coming out now, you know?
Yeah.
Or you go to the zoo. Do you remember those animals you would order, and they would be like hot wax mold, and it would come out perfect? And
oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't know why. I haven't thought about that since I was 4. I have no idea how we just got to
hot
the molded monkey at the zoo. But tell us about the self-love part, because I think that that's like a very important topic for midlife women. Like, what did you find out about yourself, and how did you reconnect with the idea of self-care and doing things for yourself, and maybe some of the woo-woo things that you had never done before?
Yeah, and you know what? It helped. I mean, I was so judgy against all that woo-woo stuff. I don't know why.
Because if you have a certain kind of brain, you're like, that's not logical.
Yeah, but what I've learned is not everything in life is logical. And so I discovered spirituality in like every way, which I was never a spiritual person. And it kind of, this whole woo-woo journey led me to, there is beauty in a sound bath, and how like the vibrations of that and the community around that. And so a lot of that woo-woo, I don't even like using that word woo-woo.
I know.
But I don't know how to, you know what I mean? So a lot of it, and just kind of, for me too, a lot of the self-love came from being alone on the page and kind of processing this year of it was really a 1 year of my life, but even though a memoir, it kind of goes back my whole life. And you see yourself, and then you have an editor who's seeing it, and she's like, you're being really self-depreciating here. And your reader might not understand that. And my humor, I have a lot of dark humor and stuff like that. And a lot of it is like, she's like, but why are you, and so it made me see myself in a different way. I was like, why am I throwing myself under the bus all the time? Why am I self-depreciating? Where does that come from? And, why do I have that? So I learned a lot about myself. Hopefully it doesn't feel like therapy on the page. I don't think it is.
Like that at all.
But it was I grew so much from being able to have that reflection to go through this like incredible journey of like, yeah, it was fun, it was rom-com, it was silly, but it was grief, and it was letting go, and it was growing, it was opening my heart, and it was changing as a human being. And so it's just, you know, I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And how did your kids go through all of this with you? I mean, obviously they probably thought you were bonkers at first.
No, they still think I'm bonkers. They just, to me, yes,
they've accepted the bonker.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I just don't think they can fight against it. But neither of them read the book.
Of course. Do you think my kids have listened to my podcast? Like,
no, Margaret did like a control search.
Was in there.
And then I was like, okay, where am I? What did I do? I'm like, do you mind if I use your name? I asked them, and we went through like every part of it, and they were fine with it. I mean, Margaret was kind of like, oh, I'm embarrassed. My son is too kind. Like he's
my son's like, I don't have time to even like address this. My daughter's like, why are you wearing gloves while you lift 10-pound weights? Like, isn't that embarrassing for you? And sometimes I post the comments she makes to me in the DMs because they're just so funny.
Yeah.
And like so many women can relate to them. They're like, oh my God, my daughter's like the exact same way.
Yeah.
She's like, my friends are coming over tonight. Don't wear one of your weird outfits. And I'm like, oh, that fucking narrows it down. Okay, great. So what's weird, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, and please don't wear your hair in that like weird old lady bun that hangs down the back of your neck. And I'm like, okay, what can I do actually?
So
like,
funny.
what is acceptable?
Yeah.
It's
what
a
is
fun
acceptable?
stage. So you have a daughter who's in college.
So yeah.
So you're half
now
empty
she's
nest.
20. Yeah, I'm half empty nest. And my son, I asked him actually yesterday, because he was talking about my book. He said, oh, I brought up your book in my literature class. I said, my mom wrote a book. I said, oh, you mentioned me? Like, you know, and I said, how do you describe it? What do you say it's about? Because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, exactly. How do you frame that one?
Yeah, because I've never asked him. And some of it can be embarrassing. I mean, I read about a one-night stand. Like, there's a lot in there that a lot of people have asked me, like, how did you write this with having children? And I was like, I mean, my kids, I'm a pretty open book. I'm like an open book as a parent.
Yeah.
I talk about everything, but
so do I.
a
My
lot of
kids
it
are
is
like,
a lot. Yeah, exactly. So he said to me, I told somebody when they asked me, there was what this book is about is something really hard that happened, my grandfather passing away and my mom turning it into this beautiful experience. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, can you come?
That's a good parenting moment, Natasha.
Yeah, I know. Well, wait, him parenting me or me parenting him?
No, but like, no, for you being like, oh, I parented this kid well.
Oh, no, my kids parent me. No. I mean, I don't mean that in but I've learned so much from my children as, you know, they're such wise, gorgeous human beings.
And that's how I feel about my kids too. I mean, we give each other shit, but at the end of the day, they're good peeps.
Yeah.
And you're like, you feel like, okay, I did well with this.
Yeah.
Like they're baked and cooked and they're good human beings and they care about other people in the world. And that's not always easy.
No.
Especially raising kids in LA. That's a whole other, you know, ball of wax.
Yep. It's all I know, but it's a lot.
I know. Same here, but that's probably why I could only have 2 kids too, because LA and raising kids, it's like a whole it's a whole thing. So with your paperback book that just is being launched right now, like what happens? Like it kind of runs, do you do a book launch with that too?
I don't do much of it. I mean, the book industry is this whole...
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
I'm learning, and I think the book industry is learning because TikTok and Instagram, it's changed so much. So your book's life kind of goes on this journey. It's not like something that just like, it's not like a movie that comes out. There's like discoverability later. And so it's like events come up and then they don't. So it's just kind of this evolution. But, you know, there's a few other things in the works and you just kind of...
That's always fun. Like a little magic here and a little magic there. I want to see.
Yeah.
Hold on. I just want to make sure that I covered everything. I think that there was one point where the psychic said to you that the whole thing that one of your missions in life is to share your point of destiny, to tell your story.
Right. So she said my point of destiny was to tell a story.
Right.
And I was like, God, that's fascinating. How did she know that I had that writer's heart that stopped beating or was like beating so low? And so it was really interesting that she said that to me, not knowing, because I didn't tell. I was such a stonewall talking to her, and that's why I do believe like this is all in line with my point of destiny. I know that, I mean, I've met so many people through this who have lost a parent or a friend or a loved one or a relationship or just needed like a little wanderlust, and I've realized like, I don't know, for somebody like my sister was my rock through this. And for a lot of people that doesn't have a sister to go through, like that's really what I wanted this to be for someone. I wasn't looking for any kind of like, I mean, I have a day job and I have
Right.
but I think that maybe that's part of the point of destiny, to try to like, I don't know, they say to serve your highest and best, to help people in any way you can. And my way is through storytelling, I guess.
And you wrote a book.
Yeah.
So she actually predicted a lot of cool things. I'm not going to share how the book ends. I want everyone to buy the book. I want everyone to experience the journey of like the laughs and the cries and the, oh my God, she's making out with someone in the lobby and then jumping on an airplane. I mean, so many of the things you're just like, wow,
I know.
that's like kind of cool. What an adventure,
It was very cool and quite an adventure. Yeah.
And I can't wait for people to buy the book and read it if they haven't already. Because everyone that I've mentioned to is like, oh my God, I read that. I love her. I'm like, I know. And they're like, we can't wait to see the interview. I'm like, I know.
Fun.
But I think that the general theme that I pulled away from it is that anything is possible.
Yeah.
Magic, love, all of it. And what we need to do is stir the pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever that stirring the pot is for you or for her, everyone's stir the pot's going to look different. And yours was, let's go to Paris and find my soulmate, November 2nd, 1968.
Yeah, it changed my whole life. And then I all of a sudden had this book deal during like, it was just, and it has changed my entire life. Anything can happen.
I love that. Thank you so much. I want everyone to know where they can find you.
NatashaSizlo.com or on Instagram, Natasha Sizlo.
Spell your last name.
Sizlo. Or my agency Instagram is Natasha_@the_agency. If anyone's buying or selling a house in LA.
We can see you on like, the TV, the hot
see
TV
me on
shows.
the season finale of The Housewives or Buying Beverly Hills or I don't know.
The pressure.
Just in the background.
Do you feel like you have to like go and like find really cool outfits?
Yes. Oh. Well, I mean, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun, but still.
It's fun, but every once in a while you're like, there's a lot of cameras in our office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cameras in the agency's office these days.
And you're like, wait, am I going to be in that? This is a bad hair day. This is a good hair day.
You just kind of like have fun.
I loved having you. I loved our chat.
Oh, me too.
I can't wait to have lunch with you after.
Me too.
I'm like,
me too.
wait, where are we going?
We don't know.
And that's all.
That's all.
There is a mourning period. And it's okay to mourn whatever it is. It's okay to mourn the maiden when you become a mother. And it's okay to mourn the motherhood when you become a woman again time has been spoken for. And to have your own time.